everybody a chance to grab something to eat or something to drink at the back or finish signing in. Thank you for coming. We welcome you. This is our last official SHAC meeting for the 22-23 school year. We may move a couple things around because we're waiting on one person for the first piece of the meeting. So I'll call Ms. Wilson up to do the minutes. How many were here for the April meeting?
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. This is the best crowd we've had a long time. Thank you for good works. So last meeting was April 5th at 4:15. Called to order. We had a welcome and opening call for the meeting. The minutes from January 23rd were reviewed and approved. I led the meeting in Dr. Holt's absence. We had a presenter, David Bishop, who's a DEA agent on the fentanyl crisis in America and in our own community. It's an excellent presentation. I spoke to the parents for a minute, encouraging all our parents, counselors, teachers, whatever, to please bring a friend when they come to the meetings, because we're trying to get community parents involved, community members involved, so they have a part to say in the health program of the children in school. Food service, Michelle Butler discussed the current food program and summer program initiatives. She also presented, but she didn't announce which schools would be for the food program last time. It's going to be Harrell and the high school. Harrell High School in Gillette. Okay. And our last meeting is for today at 5 o'clock. And we adjourned last time at 4:43. Do I have an approval, a motion to approve the minutes? I don't remember if you stated we didn't have it on the you don't remember that? At the last meeting, you have it at the hundred, so we're approving these minutes. So for this meeting, for the meeting on April 5th. Mr. Segovia moves. Ms. Torres seconds. All in favor? Thank you.
All right. So on tonight's agenda, we have several things. Are you ready?
I'll go.
So we're going to start off with a curriculum for capturing kids' hearts. Mr. Segovia, Max Segovia is going to introduce that piece for us. Then we're going to look at health and wellness curriculum for the 23-24 school year, and that will be Miley Carrillos that will be presenting that for the CNI department. We have a vaping presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about a DOI exemption that just passed the board last night, and how we're going to look at designing the future of the SHAC program. I'll bring up a little bit about how recruiting has changed this year, and I know some of you have worked on modeling brochures, just the letters, and helping get some of those brochures and even the online system going and helping people to introduce them to the system. We're also going to talk a little bit about the 23-24 dates, which we normally set this time of year, but because of the redesign, will probably be sometime in June. And I'll give you an opportunity to serve with that. We'll probably have a special, we'll have a special call meeting for the redesign, as well as that will go through our DBIC process as well for design, since they're over the DOI. And then we'll bring it back to the SHAC committee and ask you, we'll probably do that a couple of times to get the design where we want it to be. And I'll explain more about that in a little bit. Right now, I'd like to welcome Max Segovia and Capturing Kids' Hearts.
Thank you, Dr. Holt. Thank you for being here. My name is Max Segovia. My title is coordinator for parent and community outreach, and I also oversee school safety for the entire division. We have begun the implementation of Capturing Kids' Hearts, which is a district-wide initiative. Basically, what the bottom line for Capturing Kids' Heart is building relationship with students. Because as we all know, it's all about our students. Every decision we make is what is in the best interest of our students. And we always start off, I'll go over the premise of Capturing Kids' Hearts is, it's called Excel model. The E stands for good things, what are happening or good things in your campus or period, and we'll go over that in a few minutes. And then explore, it's our social contract, okay? Every classroom and within the district and at other meetings, I know I've had created a social contract with our CIS or parent liaison. It's just creating, and I'll go over that again in more detail, exactly what a social contract is. The C in Excel, communicate, talk to your students, get to know your students. It's all about knowing your students, their needs, what they need. And then the E and explore is empower, encourage students to lead, to be leaders. And then L is the launch, always in a meeting with something positive. And I should have started our meeting with good things, like we always do. And it could be either something personal, it could be professional, but we always start off with good things. So do we have any good things here amongst you all? Anything, Ms. Chapa?
Tonight, I'm going to take Wyatt to the Ring of Honor for his scouts. He's working on his Eagle Scout.
Anybody else? Like I said, it could be personal or professional.
We have two kids representing, they wrote an essay, which is Jordan Shelton and Trey Neville. So they're gonna be at the TM today. I think it's TM. They're gonna recognize them.
Awesome. I know right now, as we are talking to meeting in the cafeteria, we're having a pinning ceremony. All our students that passed their EKG and the phlebotomy, they're getting pinned by it's Delmar College. So that's happening right now. And there was what, 20-some students, 30 students? And of those students, 100% passed the test. Every student passed the test. So there, as we speak, as we meet, they are getting pinned right now in the cafeteria. So congratulations to all those students. Any other good things? And if you notice, I was at the door greeting. We always greet our students. Whoever it is at the meeting, we always greet them at the door. If you notice teachers at the door, they might say, good morning, hello, how you doing? Give them a fist bump. There's a million things you can do, but it's always greeting our students at the door. That tells us a lot, tells us that the student's having a good day, bad day. Because normally if Johnny comes in and he's always smiling, well, then you know Johnny's having a good day. But that one day, Johnny could come in and has a frown or is not making eye contact with you. That is a perfect time for you to talk to Johnny. Maybe at that, not that particular moment, but at some point, call him in and just talk to him. What's going on? How can we help you? How can we assist you? So that is the perfect time. Now, when I talked about explore, the social contract, there are 4 questions that we asked. And I'm sure a lot of our KISD employees have done a social contract. Our central administration team created a social contract. Dr. Holt and Ms. Carrillo were there, and it was amazing. It was a great opportunity for our staff. But our social contract goes on 4 questions. How do you want to be treated by your teacher or your boss or whoever it is? That's 1. 2, how do you want to be treated by each other? 3, how do you think the teacher wants to be treated by you? And 4, how do you want to treat each other? So based on those 4 questions, you create a social contract. And every time you meet, we go over our social contract. These are the things that we're going to stick to. Some could be respect, honesty, be fair, consistent. So it could be a lot of things, but the committee or the group decides on that social contract. And whatever you have, you abide by. Now, you can change the contract, you can take away, you can add, but that is the norms of the meeting. So, and then at the end of today, I will create a launch. Well, I'll not create, but I will go do a launch for at the end of our meeting. It's just a quick overview of CKH. There is a website, if you go to CKH. And there's a million things that are there. We're trying our best, and this, matter of fact, this summer, we will be going to a leadership retreat. And we will be working on capturing kids' hearts as a district. Any questions? No questions? Thank y'all for being here, and if you do have any questions, please reach out to me. I am located at Central Administration. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Segovia. I know one of the things that the committee, first of the year when we were looking at the different topics, for SHAC, with the T-SHAC took out or the Texas SHAC took out. Some of the things we were looking at is wellness, looking at the whole child initiative and trying to think wraparound services and building relationships and building support for students. So I think this is a great initiative as well that Dr. Sandoval and his team and their leadership are on board, trying to get some of those principles in that again wrap around that whole child concept of support for students. So I'm encouraged. I've been in other districts that have captured the kids' hearts, and when it gets rolling, it's really strong for kids. And I think our people need that from this SEL point of view. The next item will be health wellness curriculum for 23-24.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nayeli Carrillo. I am the district math literacy coach for the part of the curriculum and instruction team, along with Dr. Gastanite, Dr. Farah, and Ms. Ceballos, who unfortunately weren't able to join us today. And so I'm here today to talk about the health and wellness curriculum that we're going to be implementing here in Kingsville ISD. Okay, so the Texas Health TEKS were adopted by the state back in 2020. And they required all of the school districts in Texas to implement the state of Texas essential knowledge and skills for health education, which applies to all students from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, okay? So following that adoption, we decided to go ahead and start our process to look for curriculum that would align with those TEKS. Okay, so we followed this 4-step process in order to find the curriculum that we needed. The first step was finding our SHAC committee was a part of creating and coming up with curriculum recommendations. Okay, and so we researched and we gathered a bunch of data and we were able to come up with options on curriculum sources. Okay, for the second step, the SHAC committee was able to hold at least 2 public hearings that focused on those curriculum recommendations that they were able to research and find. The third step was that the SHAC committee was able to go ahead and provide those recommendations to the board at one of our public board meetings. And then the last step was when we actually took those recommendations to the board, and then the curriculum was adopted based off of those recommendations, and it was voted on and during one of the public board. So the curriculum that was chosen, okay, is called the Good Heart Wilcox curriculum. And like I said, the curriculum has already been approved and adopted by the Kingsville ISD Board of Trustees. And so that curriculum comes with 2 resources. One of the resources is called Texas Fitness and Wellness Skills. And that is the curriculum that is mainly focused for our kindergarten through 5th grade students, okay? And then the second resource that is included is the Texas Health Skills for secondary, and that is going to service our 6th grade through 12th grade students, okay? So this curriculum has been adopted for 8 years, okay? So we are in the process of implementing and getting everything ready in order to, you know, move forward. So what was the selection process for this curriculum? Well, the curriculum that we selected was chosen because it is 100% in alignment with the Texas state health standards that the state provided for us. It is also in compliance with the House Bill 1525 and the Senate Bill 9. It is also reflective of our diverse students and the community values that we have here in Pittsville ISD. It is also the only resource that is approved by the State Board of Education. Okay, the curriculum also includes the assessment tools that our teachers are able to use and implement with our students. And it also provides a parent opt-in feature for the alignment with the House Bill 1525 and the Senate Bill 9. So how are we planning to actually implement the curriculum? As of right now, we are working with our PE coaches along with our science teachers to have them implement the curriculum during our PE classes. So the coaches will be providing classroom instruction and support to allow students to develop and sustain promoting behaviors throughout their lives. Also, the implementation of this age-appropriate curriculum will be effective for our health education across our kindergarten through 12th grade year. And then it'll also substantially reduce youth participation in some of our health risk behaviors. Okay? We are also in talks here at the high school to possibly include a health class in our curriculum course schedule. So that is just something that's still, you know, in talks. But we're hoping that we're able to put that together so that we can also offer that high school and maybe middle school.
That for this year?
No,
I mean, for this coming year? Or
it'll be
23, 24, sorry.
so the one for the coaches and the science teachers will be, yes, for the upcoming year, but the health class will probably be not this next year, but the following. Any other questions?
How will the pre-K 4 students be affected in this program?
Well, pre-K4 is not part of the TEKS recommendation. It is only part for kindergarten through 12th grade. So they will continue to do PE just as normal, like regular physical education TEKS.
Yeah, and I was aware that they weren't included in this particular parameter. I was just wondering what was the IC, what was the plans for them?
Well, we are still, like I said, everything's still kind of in the process of implementation, so we can definitely come back to the table and talk about that aspect. Thanks. Anything else?
I'm just happy it's coming back because they took it away and I think that's where our children got lost. So they're paying attention more to the social media and the internet versus, you know, humans like face to face. So for me, that's a positive, because I was a health teacher for like maybe 30 years and it really works for the kids. So I'm happy it's coming.
Thank you very much.
Our next presentation is coming from the local police department, Kingsville Police Department. I said Kingsville ISD Police Department, not Kingsville ISD. So please come forward. This presentation is on vaping, and while they come forward, also Maria Garcia is here. She has also brought a lot of pamphlets on vaping as well that can be provided at the bag you can pick up.
Okay, I'm Michael Chivana, lieutenant with the Kingsville Police Department. I've been with the narcotics unit for about 9 years. This is my partner.
Hello, I'm Richard Beltran. Right now I'm assigned to patrol and I've been there for 4 years.
We deal a lot with vaping on the streets and in the schools. It's pretty bad. We want to try to catch where it's coming from, of course, to stop that. Our kids are getting it obviously from somewhere. We're right now brainstorming on how to figure out how to charge the correct charges on some of these, vapes, because some of them, you have different variants of, THC vapes. You have Delta 8, 9, 10, and 11. And the only one that's illegal in the state of Texas right now is Delta 9. Delta 11 is a new one, which they say is actually stronger than Delta 8 and 9, but it's legal. As long as it's probably one of those variants, it's gonna be legal in the state of Texas right now. What we're getting a lot of right now is, of course, in the schools, some of these vapes, they don't have any labels on them. They come in all different shapes of the pins. So what we see in them, and we see the THC oil, the wax that's inside of them, and we can't tell what it is. The schools, they have their test kits they test with. We have our test kits that we test with. We send them out to the labs. We're coming up with something that's gonna probably be a game changer for the whole thing. But right now, we're trying to figure it out, and then we'll give it to the school so we don't want to be charging people with felony charges that don't need to be charged for carrying a vape. Then, of course, kids, they're not supposed to have vapes, period. They're coming to school. We don't know where they're getting them from. We're gonna start taking a different approach when we start catching kids with vapes. We're gonna start talking to them, seeing where they're getting it from, try to figure that side of it out. If we can figure that a little bit more out, and we can start investigating where they're getting it from, and doing something about that part of it. I know it's real bad right now everywhere. Everywhere you go, people are vaping. I don't know if anybody, not that it's a bad thing, but if anybody in here has any vapes right now, nicotine, we're seeing a lot of people with nicotine. Nicotine vapes were made specifically for people that were trying to quit smoking. They were made for, like, when you had the urge to smoke, you would take a little puff of the vape and then put it down. And it was just when the urge came back, you would smoke. Well, it pretty much replaced the cigarette. And then from there, it took from the nicotine, it went to the THC. And now we're getting told that they're actually putting other different chemicals in these vapes. What was the other chemicals?
As far as nicotine goes, there's like, I know whenever they first started out, you used to go to the mall, you used to be able to like alter, make your own, pretty much make your own vape pen. They used to say there's less chemicals in there than there is in cigarettes, but my understanding is there's, I don't know how many different types of chemicals, and then on some of them, they have like a little piece of cotton. And once you run out of the juice, you start smoking that cotton. It's pretty much burnt cotton that's going inside your lungs. So that's also bad. And as far as THC goes, I mean, kids nowadays, there's a lot, like you guys would not believe, there's a lot of vape. Anything with vapes, nicotine and THC, there's a lot of it.
Every arrest that we make on the street, there's gonna more than likely, I would say about 90% of the time, gonna be a vape in the car, along with other narcotics that are in the car. He's finding a lot of drugs in the street, and that's what he is beginning a lot of THC pens. Does anybody have any questions at all? I want to show you the PowerPoint, but does anybody have any questions right now?
I want to ask you something. Like when marijuana got real popular, I don't know when it was and everything about it. Kids were rolling it in formaldehyde and smoking it because they got high with that. Are they doing any formaldehyde with vaping, or did you know?
No.
Okay.
The marijuana is the school would call us years ago. We would come to the schools and it was marijuana, regular marijuana, which is still bad, but
Right.
but they kind of graduated from that and gone into THC,
Yeah.
which is a lot more potent, a lot stronger. The effects of it are, people don't understand the effects that it can have on a person, especially somebody young.
Right.
So, yeah, it's not the marijuana that the flower marijuana that's concerning right now. That's the start of it all. But because the THC oil, I'm not sure if y'all understand the THC oil that comes in those vapes. That THC oil comes from the marijuana plant. So what they do is they get the marijuana plant, and they'll squeeze the oils out of it. So you can have a pound of marijuana, squeeze whatever oils are out in there, and the oils are gonna come out. The marijuana now is pretty much useless. Now you have a concentrated amount of the oils from that, which now, this would have been a misdemeanor charge. Now, because it's in an oil form, it's been changed, it's been altered. So now it's a felony charge. So a lot of these kids that are getting these vapes at the schools and they're getting caught with them, they don't understand the severity of it. They don't understand when they go to juvenile probation. And then they explain to them over there, this is not a misdemeanor, this is actual felony. So once they understand that, then it starts to click in and they start to, think like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Because a felony can damage. I know that they say when you're a juvenile, when you're under the age of 18, 17 years of age, your files are, sealed. It's not really the case in a lot of things. Jobs, when you go get a job, a lot of times they'll ask you, they want to know everything you've done. Like we go back all the way to high school and even junior high when we've done our backgrounds on our officers. So we want to know what they've been into, what they've gotten into. So just because it's sealed or whatever, we're still gonna, the jobs are still gonna find out. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna, like, I just noticed, like, those magic markers up there, those highlighters, where kids are using those now to clean them out and vape with them. Have y'all heard that?
No.
I saw that.
Yeah. There's a video out, shows how they clean it out and use it for vaping. And as a nurse, one of the most serious things is kids who are asthmatic vaping, because it drops their oxygen levels way down, like 80%, 70%.
Vaping and THC is pretty much just the altered form of marijuana. So when it becomes a controlled substance, because you alter it into being a form.
What other,
So you also have THC wax.
Yeah.
And then you have your edibles.
Yeah.
You go to the store, you see them.
you know, there were
the gummies, yeah, the gummies and,
all the gummies,
Yeah. and then from what I've seen recently is remember back in the day, everybody used to respect the cookies. Well, now they're trying to come back, but with the THC, which is more potent, like you were saying. So there's many different ways they can make the THC.
So this KPD, Mr. Segovia, when you were here as assistant principal, we had a program and kids turned in students, they got a reward, if they were carrying drugs on. Is that program still in existence for the camp community?
I'm not sure as far as.
I don't know what it's called. Remember what it's called?
No, I can't.
It's Crime Stoppers.
What, Jenny?
What?
Crime Stoppers.
Crime Stoppers.
I can speak to the chief about it.
I just think if you're trying to find out, what's going on with your kids, that somehow they're not gonna tell on each other, but if there's a reward or something they can do, confidentially, anonymously. I don't know.
Yeah.
Other-
Loyalties with shit.
When there's money involved.
This is where the parents are gonna come into play, because a lot of times kids are not gonna give up voluntarily information.
Right.
That's where the parents come in. This is where the parents are like, this is really, really huge. When the kids are leaving from home, the parents are usually the ones that bring them to school. I'm not saying that they have to search them, but they are the parents. So if they find it on the student at home, on their own kid at home, well, they can handle it or they can call us. But it's better for me, it's better to handle it, get him help. If you call us, I mean, the child might get a charge put on him. And of course, we don't want to destroy or tarnish people's lives, because that's what this stuff does. It's tarnishing their
It's a
careers.
felony charge.
Yes, it is a felony charge.
Right.
And depending on the amount, if they have a brand new vape that's never been opened, that's actually a higher charge than if they opened it and smoked it, that's a little bit lesser. That sounds crazy, but it's just the amount of THC that's in the vape pen. So if they have two vape pens and they're both close, it just, the weights just keep going up higher and higher. So you're talking about a state jail felony for a vape pen that they get caught with. Then it goes up to, if it's a sealed one, it's got 1 gram, just 1 gram, that becomes a 30-degree felony. So it's pretty serious.
It becomes
A 3rd-degree felony. You know, it's pretty serious. People don't understand that, we're trying, like I said, we're trying to figure out something. We're brainstorming. I'm talking with the DA's office, with the assistant county attorney's office, with the chief, with our commanders. We're trying to come up with something with juvenile probation. In fact, they're the ones that I think are gonna really put a dent in this. I think they're the ones that are gonna have the most. So once we brainstorm more and make sure this is gonna work, I mean, it's gonna help out the community a lot.
Well, I think if you get somebody like, you know, your bigger industries like Celanese, Claiborne Bank, that can promote Crime Stoppers for these kids to. I mean, she's exactly right what she said, you know. Bring back a program that, you know, may entice them. I don't know.
And I'll, like I said, I'll talk to the chief about it. Like we're like racking our brains every day. We were up in Beeville yesterday. We actually talked to the school over there. They have a police force on the ISD over there. And of course, they said they're having the same issues. They said just not as bad as what y'all are having right now. Our school district is getting flooded with vapes. So right now, I'm trying to figure out a way that we can figure out if we're charging these kids, not just the kids, but people in the community. If we're charging them with the right charges. We don't want to charge people with charges that if you know, if the crime doesn't meet, you know. So we want to make sure that we're on point, but then we want to figure out the searches that are giving this to the kids, because obviously these things cost for nicotine. I think it's like $20 to $30. Yeah, the actual THC is going for $40-50. I don't know if you can just throw $40-50 a day to your kids to go and buy this stuff. It's expensive. It's really expensive. So I'm thinking that they're going to these places wherever they're getting it from, and it might be, some of them might be whatever they're selling, whatever the vape shops. If it is vape shops, like I said, we're gonna get to the bottom of it and we're gonna figure it out. It's not gonna be an overnight deal. Right now, we're trying to figure out to make sure that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, a vape shop, is it like a liquor store? I don't know, I've never been in a vape shop. Is it like a liquor store where anybody can go in and anybody can purchase, or is there like an age limit
It's still, you have to be 21 years of age or
to go
older
into the shop?
to buy the products that they have. You still have to be 21 years of age or older. We're trying to figure out, as far as the school is handling, that if they find kids with tobacco, the school is handling that side of it. Now, if they find a kid, one of the students with a THC pin, and it's under the legal amount, we'll try to figure out what is the child going to be charged with, if even anything at all. Because give me 1 second, ma'am. It's kind of like an e-cigarette, but it's not tobacco. THC is not a tobacco product. So we're trying to figure out where we're going to go. So we're all still racking our brains, because if it's under, there's that 0.3%. If it's under 0.3%, then we will not charge them. And it's going to be the same thing across the board for students at schools, and the same with adults that we find on the streets. If the stuff, me personally, I know that files the cases with the VA's office and with the county attorney's office. So I don't want to put bogus charges on people that we don't need to. I don't want to mess up anybody's careers just because they have a THC pin that they're not sure what it is. So we're gonna figure that part out. We're like right there. We're almost there to where we'll figure it out right there in the street, or we'll figure it out here in the school, and they'll have that technology. Hopefully, if everything works well, they'll have that technology, and they probably won't even have to call us for it anymore. Hopefully. Your question?
No, so that was my question. So you were saying something about because when we test them, we have our little package that says that it's THC. We call it that.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying that there's going to be something that's going to be even more advanced than
Yes.
that it's going to determine whether it's a delta or if it's a.
Well, the new test kits that we're looking in on right now, it's going to determine. It'll tell you if it's THC or CBD. And then it'll even go further and tell us if it's above the 0.3 mark or below the point.
That was my next question.
That is
We
the-
don't know that.
That is because if it's below the 0.3 mark, and like I said, everybody was a little bit even from the police department, a little bit oblivious for that. They're testing it, it's positive for THC, we're taking them, charging them with THC in hopes that the juvenile probation sends it off, tests it, but that's not the case. Everything that we get, if I find one guy with about 3 or 4 different types of narcotics on him, the DA's office is only gonna send one to the lab. It's gonna be the highest charge. So the other stuff doesn't even get tested. So it's costly and it's a time frame. So we only have 10 days to turn in, for the officers to turn in their reports. When the school calls, they have 10 days to get that report to me. And for me to get it to the juvenile probation office within those 10 days. If it's not within those 10 days, that case can just be thrown out. So we have a time frame for the juveniles. So there is no way that the DPS labs are gonna get that substance tested and get it back to you. It might take a year, even 2 years. It takes time. This is the whole state that's sending them all types of narcotics. So this will be a game changer for everybody. I'm hoping it will. It'll take all the guessing game out of everything. So, like I said, we're right there, but just need a little bit more time. Any other questions?
So if you have somebody who's vaping and you see them vaping and you pull them over, is that a DUI?
No, not, like I said, you can charge somebody that's just smoking regular marijuana, depending on how much they smoke. Now, for us to get to that level, you need officers that have been to this type of training. This is like a 3-week training that you have to go through to be able to be, it's a DRE. And you need a lot of training for this. So when we pull somebody over, they're intoxicated with alcohol and they have marijuana, yes, we do charge them with a DWI if everything is there. We do that for our chest and everything, but yes, you can charge somebody with smoking regular marijuana and even vaping. We've actually caught people when it first came out, we would catch people passed out at the wheel because they took a puff of the vape and it would knock them out right there. It was that potent.
You don't squeeze the marijuana, you actually cook it.
Yeah,
To make.
you have to extract the oil.
And
Yeah.
so let's say I have a kid who has a problem with addiction to the vape, because I'm gonna be honest with you. My dad's 70 years old and he's seen all this stuff and has done all this stuff. And it's been around and will continue to be around. But if I want help with my kid, where in Keysville do I go?
They had, I'm not gonna tell you, it's been a while since I've seen it, but they had right there with on Tendon Flavor. They had that little right across from the cleaners. They had that little substance place right there where you can actually go there. I'm not sure if it's still open, but you can call the PD and they'll give you information for that.
So you guys are pretty much y'all to meet the kids and y'all are full of that stuff and charge something instead of.
As well, yes, we want to help, but people don't understand we want to help. We've actually had people come into the police department to try to get help. We don't have the funds for that. We don't have the time for that. And it's not that we don't want to, but we have our call volume within the city. It's not just for narcotics. It's not just, you have calls for thefts, robberies, assaults, and that's, the officers have to go to these calls. There are fights in progress. So it's not that we don't want to help. We don't have the resources to do that.
I think if you go to a juvenile probation, I think they might have contacts that can help you as far as whether it's in-house patient, like a rehab or something, or out. They might be able to.
Okay, so the PowerPoint, it's a short little PowerPoint. This was made for another school, Jubilee School. I'm sure everybody's aware of that place. So they started having problems with vaping, so they wanted us to come and talk. So I got a last minute notification that they wanted me to come to this here. So this is the only thing I have, so bear with me on, it's mainly made for younger kids. And the use of e-cigarettes is unsafe for kids, teens, and young adults. Most e-cigarettes contain nicotine. Nicotine is highly addictive and can harm adolescent brain development, which continues into the early to mid-20s. E-cigarettes can contain other harmful substances besides nicotine. Young people who use e-cigarettes may be more likely to smoke cigarettes in the future. It's gonna be a little short video, like 4.5 minutes long. You can go back one. You can click on the keep going over. Like this way. It's gonna be off YouTube.
Just handling them, and even under the wrong conditions, e-cigarettes can explode. Is swimming with sharks bad for your health? Probably. Today, we're going to talk about vaping. You've heard it all over the news. Kids are dying from vaping. Hey, everyone, I'm Dr. Wagner. I'm a board certified real life emergency medicine physician. On my show, I'm going to answer all your emergent medical questions and clear up some myths about medical ailments. So what is vaping? Why has it become so popular lately? Is it safe? And is vaping better than regular cigarettes? And can vaping actually kill you? All great questions. And we're going to go over all of that, plus clear up some other myths about vaping. If you've turned on your TV lately, you've probably seen reports about people dying or having severe medical complications that have been allegedly related to vaping. As of September 2019, the Center of Disease Control, aka the CDC, is calling it an outbreak. There have been reportedly a whopping 530 cases of lung injury in 38 states, 1 US territory. So what is vaping? Vaping is slang for the act of inhaling and exhaling the aerosol or vapor that's produced by an electronic cigarette or vaping type device. According to the CDC website, e-cigarettes work by heating up the liquid to produce an aerosol that users can inhale into their lungs. The liquid, which contains sometimes nicotine, THC, and other additives. The term vape is used because e-cigarettes do not produce tobacco smoke, but rather an aerosol, often mistaken for water vapor. Aerosols are substances enclosed under high pressure that can be released as a fine spray, typically by propellant of gas or oil. For instance, hairspray. What are the symptoms of vaping-related illnesses? Many of the cases, patients say that they experience trouble breathing, shortness of breath, and chest pain before they are brought to the hospital. Some people have also said that they've experienced stomach issues, including nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. All right, who's at risk for vaping-related lung injuries and illnesses? Duh. People who vape are the ones at risk. Anything that you inhale into your lungs that is not air can potentially harm you. And I don't care if it tastes like strawberry shortcake, it still puts you at high risk. Why is vaping causing all of these injuries? Investigators have not yet identified a common brand, type of device, or drug across all cases. The only common thread, all patients have reported the use of e-cigarettes or vape. In other words, We don't know yet the exact component that is causing all of the drama. So are they dangerous for your health? Is swimming with sharks bad for your health? Probably on a very basic level. Just handling them and even under the wrong conditions, e-cigarettes can explode and cause serious injury. But recently discovered health risks range from exposure to toxic metals or e-liquids, which can cause seizures, brain injury, and heart attacks. So here's the big question. Can you die from vaping? Yes. At the time of the posting of this video, 8 deaths have been confirmed in 6 different states, with 16% of the deaths including children under the age of 18. If you're watching this later than I posted it, it's probably a lot more. How do you prevent vaping-related disease or injury? Easy. Don't do it. When it comes to your health, I would suggest minimizing every risk possible to injuring your lungs. You only have 2 of them. Whether you're inhaling heated vapor or aerosols with the e-cigarettes, or burning material and chemicals such as with regular cigarettes, the only way to prevent it is to stop it entirely. Are e-cigarettes and vaping healthier than regular cigarettes? Let's not get crazy here with the word healthier. Although some reports out there say that there are fewer toxins and cancer-causing substances in e-cigarettes than regular cigarettes, the truth is vapes and e-cigarettes haven't been around long enough to know the true damage it causes them. Only time will tell which, if any, are less risky than the other. All right, that's been your 5 minutes on vaping with me, Dr. Wagner. I hope I've cleared up some of the myths regarding vaping out there and helped you get a better understanding of this potentially deadly outbreak. Make sure you leave a comment with whatever medical questions or topics you'd like me to make a video about, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel and turn on your bell notifications. That way you can learn when I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and stay healthy, my friends.
Okay, types of vaping. Some e-cigarettes look like regular cigarettes, cigars, or pipes. Some look like USB flash drives, pins, and other everyday items. They've got so high tech. One guy told us that they're actually camouflaging these things to where you can't even smell the odor of marijuana coming from them, and camouflaging them by labeling them like if they're either nicotine or even Delta 8 or Delta 10 or 11 variants. E-cigarettes aerosol is not harmless water vaping. The e-cigarette aerosol that users breathe from the device and itself can contain harmful and potentially harmful substances, including nicotine, ultrafine particles, flavorings, volatile organic compounds, cancer-causing chemicals, heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead. The aerosol that users inhale and exhale from e-cigarettes can expose both themselves and bystanders to harmful substances. It is difficult for consumers to know what e-cigarette products contain. For example, some e-cigarettes marketed as containing 0% nicotine have been found to contain nicotine. It affects the brain, likely to move on to other tobacco products. So this is what happens if some of these kids and even adults that use them, and of course it affects the lungs, which from what you heard there, it puts liquid, and the vapes can actually put liquid in your lungs and it can be harmful to you. With vaping lung illness. Nicotine harms teen brain development. It harms their learning, their memory, the mood, the impulse control, and their attention span. Tobacco is 21. Raising the minimum age to 21 includes all tobacco and nicotine products. Strong enforcement provisions, non-preemption, no possession, usage, or purchase penalties for minors. Enforcement. So what they're saying right here, like what I was explaining to you, THC it doesn't fall under tobacco products. So all day long you can write if we catch a juvenile with or a student with tobacco products, they can write them a Class C misdemeanor ticket. But if they catch them with THC, that's actually like Delta 8, 10, or 11. There's nothing you can write them for. You go to the next one. Increased risk of addiction to tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. Nicotine addiction can happen quickly within days or weeks. Set a good example by being tobacco-free and not expose others to secondhand emissions from any tobacco products, including e-cigarettes. If you use tobacco, it's never too late to quit. And there's if you want to get that number down, if you want to get somebody, that number that needs help. There's some people that use vapes and then they want to quit, but some of them get addicted to them. Any other questions? Okay, that's it. So like I said, we should be coming up probably within a week or two with a plan. That way we can start implementing that and not getting these students in so much trouble that they don't need to be getting into. So yes.
As far as how the kids getting their hands on this stuff, we all suspect any like security threat groups, like moving that stuff around from Mexico, that somebody's connected.
It could be maybe partially that could be.
It's gonna be a lot easier for them to go to a state that's legalized, for example, like Colorado. They can somebody can just drive over there, pick up, 30 days and come back and then you start speaking.
Oklahoma, right here, Oklahoma's right here, it's legal there. Las Vegas, it's legal. Colorado, all these things, it's legal, but here it's in Texas, it's illegal.
Okay, so the kids they're not going into the vape shops, obviously, or they.
Well, we don't know what's going on.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, that it gets by somebody, so somebody connected.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna try to figure out. That's my first step is to figure out how to do this first, because if not, we're gonna keep doing this going around in circles. So we want to figure that part out and then start figuring out where it's coming from.
That includes the cake.
Yeah, that's probably something that we need to get with THC as far as probably your local stores, because you buy them at any one store.
Really? I didn't know.
Any gas station.
Yeah.
But the cake, the THC.
The THC, it just depends. It might be somebody that drives up on their own. It might be a store, and that's what he's saying, that we're gonna start doing to school, trying to set up a good foundation as far as working our way up to see who's distributing to these kids.
Baseline.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, see, and the thing is that some of these people are smart.
Yeah.
So if they buy a vape and it's a Delta 8 vape, and then they buy an illegal vape, but they keep the packaging, so how would we know? So they're using little trick methods and stuff. So we're trying to figure it out. We want to do everything the right way. We don't want to just because they have THC, we don't want to just get them and throw the book at them. We want to make sure that we're doing it right.
And we do have vape sensors that are all here at the high school and at Gillette, and we will be installing some at the elementaries. Unfortunately,
Once we show you the new one that's coming out, the new test kits, it's like I said, it's a game changer. It's gonna be exciting. So if you all have any questions at all, feel free to call the police department and they'll answer any questions that you might have, vapes. If you do find one, of course, at the schools, just turn it in and they'll call us and we'll come and get it from them. Okay?
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very informative, especially if we're going into the summer, so we know as parents and community members what to be looking for. We talked about the 40 developmental assets a couple of meetings ago, and about how different community health services, nursing services, medical services, community services, government services, how we could use our influences in those type of positions. So this would be some ways that we can start looking in the community to provide some services and to be aware of what students are. Maybe we can help the department also find out some information. So keeping our eyes open. DOI and SHAC. So the last DEIC committee, we have approved already to be a district of innovation. And we looked at things like contracts and seat time, things like that. And one of the things that can be, that could have been added to the district of innovation plan was to ask for a waiver. So I'm going to be careful how I say that so you won't misunderstand. a waiver for SHAC so that you can design your own SHAC to meet the community needs. So we put that before DEIC committee, it passed at DEIC, we took it to the board and the board approved us applying for the DOI exemption or waiver for SHAC in this capacity. We are not intending to do away with SHAC, so I want to alleviate concerns because we all know that the health and wellness of our students and even our staff members and our community is extremely important to all of you that come to these meetings every night and to people in the community that watch these and can't even are unable to come to these meetings. So this is again not an opportunity to waiver and not have SHAC. This is an opportunity to design. So there's several things that the state requires, like it requires at least 4 meetings a year. This year we've had 5. It requires co-chair and chair to be truly community member. We struggle with that, so we've increased our recruiting to include a more formal letter and trying to get it out to different community centers. Also, we created brochures. We also created an online application system, and we have about 40 applications that we passed out to top leaders in the area, and I think we probably have about 10 or 12, something like that, that have actually turned in applications for next year. So I think the SHAC will grow. So again, we're not trying to get rid of SHAC. So if that is a rumor out there, please negate that. So what we're doing right now, and I can't tell you what that looks like because it involves not only the DEIC committee looking at what that new SHAC design will be, but then it also determines what they are going to recommend, and then what the SHAC committee itself also will recommend that it looks like. So there'll be some survey coming out. There'll be discussions in DEIC that are brought back to this committee to look at. Do we want to continue to have 4 meetings? What can we waiver on that? Does it look more like 2 or 3? And maybe some subcommittees doing some work and bringing it back together in bigger committees. What does that exactly look like? So anything possible could be determined. So I don't want to tell you what it will look like because I don't know. This is not SHAC according to Dr. Holt. So I'm not going to put myself out there on that. So we will work on that through the next few months to see what best design fits our community. So if you have any ideas of what that might look like, or you want to have discussions with me as well, I left some business cards on the back table next to the vaping materials and also some community health materials I'm going to share just a minute. So again, you will be involved in this. Please pick that up and give me a call, give me an email. And again, I'll put out some surveys too as we start up this process. It's brand new, just was voted on last night. The next thing, I've already talked a little bit about recruiting. We still need to reach some of the high flyer community organizations. So if you are a member of a community organization, or if you know of a community organization and you know the leaders thereof, again, please put it on the sign-in sheet, put it on the back, tell me who I should contact to see if we can't get more information out to the community to develop more partnerships across the city. 23-24 date recommendations. Typically this time of year, we come up with at least 4 dates for the next year. Because of the DOI, and I have intended to do that tonight, should the board not have passed the DOI redesign of this. So we will not do that because we'll need to determine how many meetings and what those look like and things like that before we put out any information on that. But typically, like this year, they're September, November, January, late March or early April, and May, if we do 5. And they've either done 4 or 5. It looks like over the trend, I've been here a year and a half, but it looks like over the trend of about the last 5 to 8 years, they either do 4 or 5. Again, right now 4 is mandated. So we'll be getting that information out, and you tell me also on those brochures, or if you go online and apply, you know, people, you tell them, hey, we want you to apply, come to this. This is a good organization for you to get out some of your concerns and some of your supports for your services to health and wellness in the community. We also, they can go online at KISD and they can actually put their application in for the SHAC committee online. So it doesn't have to be a piece of paper. Some people do it by phone, a lot easier than it is a piece of paper. Some people still love paper, and so we still have papers. Okay.
Can you add to that one thing that you're trying to look at? Days of the week and times during the day that best suited the community.
Yes, last year at the bottom of the brochure or the letter, we actually put out, I believe, what days did you prefer? What times do you prefer? We have struggled and we continue to, so we really do need that input. What is the best time? Is it 4:30? Is it 5 o'clock? Some people have it during noon and have it at lunch. Some people have it at 7 after everybody's home. We even ran a couple of Zoom meetings last year, and those were attended about the same. I think we had 17. I know seen it 17 at one, and I don't remember the other one. So sometimes they Zoom, so that might be incorporated into the new design. So many in person, maybe a Zoom meeting to add to it. So there's just all types of ways that we can look at it, but we need your feedback on what works for you, because we want you to come. And if we mandate a time and you can't be here, we need to know that that's not going to happen, so that we don't put you on as much participation as possible. Okay, last thing, before we get the launch, also, Diana Reyna has also brought some materials from community and health from the state as well. There are two brochures back there, or 2 pamphlets back there. So be sure to pick those up, be sure to pick up a business card. And at this time, if you have any questions, let's do that before we get Mr. Segovia to launch us out of here. What about anything that you're concerned about, health and wellness, or anything you heard about tonight, or any feedback? Okay, my email is always open. My phone is always available. We have 3 phones, so you can just ask me which number you can call. Mr. Segovia.
Mr. Davila,
Coach Davila.
my
He's
partner.
going to launch.
I'm gonna launch.
You're on.
Did you explain lunch?
Yes,
Okay, cool. Just kind of piggybacking off Mr. Segovia's stuff, we like to do, of course, good things, and we like to launch. It's just, we're trying to build high performing teams within our CKH curriculum. So the launch is meant to give you something to leave the room on a high note, give you some positive thoughts as you leave. So I launched. Some people could be given an entire field of roses and only see the thorns in it. Others could be given a single weed and only see the wildflower in it. Perception is a key component to gratitude, and gratitude is a key component to joy. Have a good day.
Thank you. Feel food at the back before you leave, grab something.